What if everything you've been told about success is a lie designed to keep you weak? What if your relentless pursuit of achievement, your endless grinding, your noble sacrifices are actually the chains that bind you to a life of quiet desperation? Today, we're going to explore a dangerous truth that Niccolo Machiavelli understood centuries ago. One that will shatter everything you believe about work, power, and the very nature of human fulfillment. If this resonates with you, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. By the end of this journey, you'll become a different person, one who understands the subtle art of strategic withdrawal and conscious unavailability. So stay until the very end, because what you're about to discover will change how you see yourself forever. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that lives in your bones. It's not the tiredness that comes from physical labor or even mental exertion. It's the soul-deep weariness of someone who has given everything and received nothing in return. You know this feeling, don't you? You wake up each morning with a sense of dread disguised as duty. You tell yourself you're being responsible, productive, noble even. But deep down, in that quiet space between your thoughts, you know something is terribly wrong. You're working harder than ever, yet feeling more empty than you've ever felt. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." But what happens when even you have forgotten what you really are beneath all that striving? The modern world has created a mythology around hard work that would make the ancient gods envious. We've been taught that our worth is measured by our productivity, our value determined by our availability, our love proven by our sacrifice. But this mythology is not neutral. It serves a purpose, and that purpose is not your freedom. Consider the person who works 60 hours a week, who responds to emails at midnight, who cancels dinner with friends to meet a deadline that will be forgotten in a month. Society calls this person dedicated. Jung would call this person possessed by what he termed the collective shadow, the unconscious agreements we make to abandon ourselves in service of external validation. You see, when you work relentlessly hard, you're not just expending energy, you're broadcasting your availability. You're sending a signal to the world that says, "I am here for you to use. I will bend myself into whatever shape you need. My time, my energy, my very essence is negotiable." This is what Machiavelli understood about power that we've forgotten. True power lies not in how much you can give, but in your ability to withhold. The prince who grants every request becomes a servant. The person who is always available becomes invisible. But here's the deeper wound, the one that cuts to the very core of your being. When you work frantically hard, you're not just serving others, you're running from yourself. You're using busyness as an anesthetic against the profound questions that demand your attention. Who are you when you're not performing? What do you want when no one is watching? What would you choose if you weren't afraid? Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process by which we become who we truly are rather than who we think we should be. But individuation requires stillness, reflection, the courage to face our own depths. Hard work in its compulsive form becomes a sophisticated form of self-avoidance. Think about the last time you sat in complete silence for an hour, not meditating, not planning, not solving problems, just being. If the thought terrifies you, you've located the problem. If you can't remember the last time, you've found your prison. The tragedy of our age is that we've confused motion with progress, effort with effectiveness, sacrifice with love. We've become addicted to the drama of our own exhaustion, mistaking it for proof of our worth. But Machiavelli knew something we've forgotten. The most powerful person in any room is often the one who speaks the least, gives the least, and remains the most mysterious. Your relentless hard work isn't noble, it's a symptom. It's your psyche's way of avoiding the confrontation with your own depths, your own desires, your own terrifying potential for authentic power. How did we arrive at this place where our own energy has become a commodity we freely give away? To understand this, we must excavate the layers of conditioning that have shaped not just our behavior, but our very conception of self-worth. From the moment you drew your first breath, you were enrolled in an invisible curriculum. Your parents, well-meaning but unconscious, taught you that love was conditional, earned through performance, maintained through compliance. Your teachers reinforced this by rewarding the students who worked hardest, not necessarily those who thought most clearly. Your first employers confirmed it by promoting those who stayed latest, not those who produced the most valuable work. But this conditioning runs deeper than behavior. It penetrates the very structure of your identity. Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to navigate social expectations. Over time, you began to believe that the mask was your face, that your worth was inseparable from your productivity. Nietzsche observed, "The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe." But what happens when the tribe's primary message is that your value lies in your usefulness to others? You begin to lose track of where the tribe ends, and you begin. Consider how modern society has weaponized your deepest psychological needs against you. Your need for belonging becomes people-pleasing. Your desire for significance becomes workaholic tendencies. Your longing for love becomes the endless performance of indispensability. This is not accidental. Machiavelli understood that power structures depend on the willing participation of those they govern. The most effective control is self-imposed control. When the prisoner becomes their own guard, when the servant believes service is nobility, when the exhausted believe exhaustion is virtue. The capitalist system discovered something profound about human psychology. If you can convince people that their work is their identity, they will work themselves to death voluntarily. They will compete with each other for the privilege of their own exploitation. They will take pride in their exhaustion and shame in their rest. But the conditioning goes even deeper. We live in what Jung called the collective unconscious, shared patterns of thought and behavior that operate below conscious awareness. One of these patterns is the belief that suffering is somehow purifying, that struggle is noble, that ease is laziness. This belief system serves power beautifully. It ensures a steady supply of people willing to sacrifice themselves on the altar of hard work, while those who understand the true nature of power, strategic withholding, conscious unavailability, the cultivation of mystery, rise to positions of influence. Think about the people who truly hold power in your world. Are they the ones working 80-hour weeks? Or are they the ones whose time is scarce, whose attention is valuable, whose presence is a gift rather than a given? Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and yield so readily to the desires of the moment that he who will trick will always find another who will suffer to be tricked." The trick here is convincing you that your endless availability is a virtue rather than a weakness, that your compulsive hard work is strength rather than unconscious desperation. The most insidious part of this conditioning is how it co-opts your own psychology against you. Your need for meaning becomes the meaning you find in being needed. Your desire for love becomes the love you think you earn through sacrifice. Your longing for respect becomes the respect you believe you gain through being useful. But Jung reminds us that individuation, the process of becoming truly yourself, requires what he called holding the tension of opposites. You must learn to hold both your desire to contribute and your right to withdraw, both your capacity to give and your wisdom to withhold, both your love for others and your responsibility to yourself. The society that benefits from your endless hard work will never teach you this balance. It will never tell you that your worth is inherent, not earned. It will never remind you that your energy is sacred, not freely available. It will never suggest that your time is precious, not infinitely expendable. This is why awakening feels like rebellion. Because in a world that profits from your unconsciousness, consciousness is the ultimate revolutionary act. There comes a moment in every awakening soul's journey when you must choose. Will you continue to be available to everyone except yourself? Or will you discover the profound power that lies in conscious unavailability? This is not about becoming selfish or cruel. This is about recognizing that your energy is not renewable, your attention is not infinite, and your presence is not a resource to be mined by everyone who desires it. Machiavelli understood that scarcity creates value, and nothing is more scarce than a person who has learned to say no. But let's be clear about what we mean by strategic withdrawal. This is not the withdrawal of depression, where you retreat because you feel defeated. This is not the withdrawal of bitterness, where you withhold because you feel wronged. This is the conscious, deliberate choice to step back from the endless demands of a world that would consume you if you let it. Jung spoke of the necessary darkness that precedes rebirth. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, he wrote, but by making the darkness conscious. Your darkness here is your unconscious compulsion to be useful, to be needed, to be always available. The light comes when you realize that this compulsion is not love, it's fear. Fear of being abandoned, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of confronting the vast emptiness that might exist when you stop running from yourself. But here's what Machiavelli knew that most never learn. The person who withdraws strategically doesn't become less valuable. They become infinitely more precious. Think of the people in your life whose attention you truly value. Are they the ones who are always available, always eager to help, always present? Or are they the ones whose presence feels like a gift, whose time feels sacred, whose attention feels earned rather than expected? When you begin to practice conscious unavailability, something miraculous happens. The people who were taking your energy for granted suddenly notice its absence. The requests that seemed urgent reveal themselves as preferences. The emergencies that required your immediate attention resolve themselves without you. But more importantly, you begin to remember who you are beneath all that doing, all that serving, all that endless availability to others' needs. Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But he also understood that what makes you stronger is not enduring everything. It's choosing consciously what you will and will not endure. It's the cultivation of what he called the will to power. Not power over others, but power over your own energy, your own time, your own sacred presence. This withdrawal is not permanent isolation. It's a conscious retreat that allows you to return to the world from a place of fullness rather than depletion, choice rather than compulsion, strength rather than desperate need to be needed. During this period of withdrawal, you will face the voices, both internal and external, that will try to shame you back into availability. Your conditioning will tell you that you're being selfish. Others will accuse you of not caring. Your own psychology will create emergencies to justify your return to the familiar patterns of self-abandonment. But if you can hold steady, if you can resist the pull to rescue and fix and solve and serve, something extraordinary begins to emerge. You start to hear your own voice beneath the noise of everyone else's needs. You begin to feel your own desires beneath the weight of others' expectations. You discover your own rhythm beneath the frantic pace of a world that never stops demanding. Machiavelli advised princes to be both the lion and the fox, strong when strength is needed, cunning when cunning serves better. Your strategic withdrawal is fox-like cunning. You're not retreating because you're weak, you're creating the conditions for your own strength to emerge. In the silence of your withdrawal, you begin to distinguish between what you want to give and what you feel compelled to give, between love and performance, between service and servitude. You begin to understand that your highest gift to the world is not your exhausted availability, but your conscious choice to engage from fullness rather than emptiness. This is the beginning of true power, not the power that dominates, but the power that chooses. Not the power that takes, but the power that decides what it will offer and to whom.